Next on Worcester News Tonight, a fallen hero laid to rest today. Thousands paid their respects to Officer Ron Tarantino. Plus, many are now hitting the road for the holiday weekend. We take a look at where they are headed.
And this time it was our parents. As a brother, Ronnie was the best, and he couldn't have asked for a better big brother or role model.
Officer Ronald Tarantino's sister, one of thousands paying tribute to him at his funeral today. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Andy Madison. It was a somber day in Charlton. Family, friends, co-workers gathered to remember the fallen Auburn police officer. Officer Tarantino was shot to death earlier this week during a traffic stop. Police officers from departments from all over New England, as well as other parts of the country, were at the funeral. Tarantino's death has been felt throughout the law enforcement community.
I was actually working the shift that night. I had an overnight shift, so I heard the call come out over the scanner and our department responded. So we were there kind of from the beginning.
Tarantino comes from a family of police officers, including his father and his uncle. His loss is being felt across the state, but especially in towns of Leicester and Auburn, where he served. Our Tim McCone has a look at the emotional tributes from those departments.
The Auburn and Leicester police departments remember Ron Tarantino Jr. as an officer with a passion for the job.
Ronnie was persistent in following the path of his dad, Ron Tarantino Sr., pursuing his dream of becoming a police officer.
Tarantino spent 7 years with the Leicester Police Department and 2 with Auburn. It's clear he leaves a lasting impact on both departments.
As time passes, the Auburn Police Department will ensure that Ron Tarantino's legacy will become the standard of excellence that all Auburn police officers strive to achieve.
Described as a cop's cop, both departments say he had a personality that people wanted to be around.
By sight, Ron was a big, strong, tough, rugged-looking guy, but what almost all of you don't know is that in the middle of the night in his cruiser, Ron would not hesitate to fist pump and rock out the Party in the USA by Miley Cyrus.
Leicester Police Sergeant Paul Dorey also read a passage written by Officer Tarantino when he was in the police academy on why he wanted to become a police officer.
I like to have a sense of pride in my work, as well as knowing I can be able to help someone in some way, shape, or form.
Something his fellow officers say Tarantino clearly achieved.
Ron's presence will be missed, but his memory never, ever forgotten.
Tim McCone, Worcester News Tonight.
The officer's widow and family shared their memories while thanking the community for the support they've received since Sunday's tragedy. Our Olivia Lemon was at the funeral and has a look at what the family had to say.
A sea of blue outside St. Joseph's Church in Charlton to honor fallen officer Ronald Tarantino Jr. The Auburn police officer's funeral was a celebration of his life.
It's amazing to see how many lives he has touched and how each of you has shown and expressed your love for him.
His wife, Tricia Tarantino, spoke outside of the church before the funeral, thanking police departments and people from all over for the outpouring of support.
Ron would be so touched to see how much he was loved. Thank you, everyone locally and across the country, from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you.
My brother was the greatest officer any department could hope for. He did his job the right way. He had everything you needed to be a great police officer: courage, strength, integrity, and compassion, just to name a few.
His youngest sister, Caitlin Tarantino, delivered the eulogy. From tears to laughter, she remembered him for his courage and sense of humor.
I'm not sure what he enjoyed more, making us laugh or cracking himself up, but I think it would be safe to go with the latter.
For those of you who knew Ron and heard his laugh will never forget it. It was a high-pitched giggle that shouldn't have come from a man of his size. It was infectious.
Tarantino's uncle, Larry James, is also a police officer. He called Ron his hero and says he's grateful to have had someone like him in his life.
He was not only my dad, but he was my best friend. I learned everything that I know from him. His sense of humor, his work ethic,
Officer Tarantino's son Spencer spoke for his two brothers. He says he hopes something good can come out of this tragedy. He encouraged everyone to be respectful to police officers and thank them for the job they do every day.
I can tell you all that my dad loved you very much. Everybody. That's why he did his job. And I couldn't be more proud of him.
Olivia Lemon, Worcester News Tonight.
A state trooper was also wounded during the shootout with Jorge Zambrano. After going through surgery, the trooper was released from the hospital yesterday. State police say he was shot in the shoulder. The trooper is recovering and his name is not being released. Since the shooting, there have been many tributes and funds set up for Officer Tarantino's family. However, Charlton police are warning people about a fallen officer's fund scam. Authorities say the best way to donate to Officer Tarantino's family is through the Officer Ronald Tarantino Jr. Memorial Fund. You see the information right there on the screen. You can also call your local police department for names of legitimate organizations. Verizon union workers who have been on strike could be back to work next week. The Associated Press reports Verizon and its union have reached a deal in principle on a 4-year contract. About 39,000 workers across several states, including Massachusetts, have been on strike since mid-April. Here in central Massachusetts, this Verizon store in Shrewsbury is one of several places workers have been picketing during the strike. Now, we haven't heard anything official from either side, but as you can see, there were no picketers outside the store this afternoon. A doctor who could have a link to the suspect in the death of a Massachusetts state trooper has lost his license. Investigators are looking at whether Dr. John Nadolny improperly prescribed medical marijuana to David Najuna of Webster, who you see right here appearing in court last week. Najuna appeared in court on motor vehicle homicide charges in the death of Trooper Thomas Clardy. Memorial Day weekend is upon us, and that means it's the unofficial start of summer and one of the busiest travel weekends of the year. Many hit the road earlier today, headed for places like Cape Cod, Nantucket, or other beach destinations around New England. Here's a look at 190 here in Worcester before the traffic rush. Traveling this weekend, AAA estimates more than 38 million Americans will be traveling either by land or by sea.
And, lake and stuff like that, family stuff I do. But this Memorial Day, I plan to stay home, maybe a little barbecue in the family, a little music, and that's about it.
It is expected to be the second highest Memorial Day travel weekend on record, and part of that is due to low gas prices. Now, if you're staying in town in Worcester, here's a look at some of the Memorial Day observances here this weekend. The water ceremony is on Sunday at Elm Park. The city's official observance of Memorial Day is Monday morning at Hope Cemetery. There will be a parade into the veteran sections of the cemetery. Later in the day, ceremonies will be held at the state's Vietnam Memorial in Green Hill Park, as well as at the Korean War Memorial of Central Massachusetts near Union